Hi, my name is Emily Ekman and I'm an athletic training student, so I chose to pick a case that deals with athletic trainers and diagnosing concussions. So this case happened in Illinois at a high school. A football player suffered a concussion and complained of signs and symptoms such as headache and fatigue to the coaches and the athletic trainer, and actually expressed that he really didn't feel good before their game and asked if he could sit out the first quarter, but he was still put in. And during that game, he suffered another hit to the head. And ever since then, well, first he had to go to the hospital to get burr holes to release pressure from bleeding in his brain, and that caused irreparable damage. So now he can only communicate through a keyboard, and so he sued and ended up winning $4.4 million, and the athletic trainer was held accountable because he had a breach of duty for ignoring the signs and symptoms and letting the patient go in. This topic is relevant to athletic training and to the football setting, especially because more than 20 concussion-related lawsuits were brought against the NFL by former players. And right now there's a lot of talk about CTE and second impact syndrome, and people are really shedding light on concussions and the serious consequences of going into play with one. So I defend the decision and the outcome of this case. Being an athletic training student, I see the training that we receive in the education, so I know what goes into it, and an athletic trainer failing to act properly resulted in basically this kid's life being completely ruined and different now. So I know that he acted out of nonfeasance because he failed to fulfill his duty and failed to be a healthcare professional for these people. So I related this case to Potter's Triangle. He had a role for the role ethics to be an athletic trainer, which he failed to fulfill. And for goal ethics, he failed due to the negative consequences of his actions. And rule ethics focuses on the duty and obligation, which I kind of touch on, as his duty to be a healthcare provider and his obligation to make those decisions to keep his patients safe. And it's kind of hard to place like which ethical lens he was in due to not knowing his like motives or why he chose to do that. The case file didn't really like go into that at all. But I don't think he was acting under the responsibility lens because he didn't use proper reasoning. And I also didn't put him under the relationship lens because there wasn't any justice for that athlete. He won the lawsuit, but he also suffers from that damage, and he won't ever be the same. So I think this is really interesting ethically because I am curious as to like what his motives were, whether it was the coaches asking him to keep the athlete in, or if he just truly wasn't doing his job and didn't feel like checking, or if he didn't know genuinely, which I think would be hard to believe, but I guess I can't put myself in his spot.